right, so everybody knows, my all-time favorite Miami Heat performance is authored by Shane Battier, 2013 NBA Finals, Game 7. But when the NCAA tournaments rolled around, one of the first guys I think about is Shane Battier. So that's why we're going to have him on the show here, because I love getting the player, the student athlete perspective as far as the NCAA tournament rolling around. NCAA champion Shane Battier joining us here. Shane, always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. You doing all right? You good? Everything all right in the Battier household?
Jay-Z, living life, man. Living in Miami, love it. It's home, too healthy, great kids, beautiful wife. I'm living the dream.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. So what is this? You're a 2001 national champion. You went to the Final Four a couple times, one of the all-time great collegiate careers, of course, at Duke. So we're on Tuesday. The tournament, the real tournament games start Thursday and Friday. I know we have the first four tonight. What is this week leading up to Thursday and Friday's first round games like for the student athletes?
It's the best week of the year. Look, I went to Duke for the time we'd play in March, and from the time the brackets come out to that first game, there's a nervous energy about the team. You've worked all year. You've been working since last August, all right, all for this time. So you're not going to reinvent yourself. There's nothing you're going to put into practice this week and say, okay, we're going to do this after playing 30 games during the year. Right now, it's about being mentally prepared, being physically prepared to go out and play your best basketball. And it's exciting. I mean, I still get chills every time I see Selection Sunday, and I was a number one seed every year, and in your mind, the coach is trying to tell you to focus on, just focus on the first game and focus on the first weekend. Don't worry about the other side of the bracket. But it's hard as a player. You're a fan, and we love college basketball, and you're doing in your own mind the bracket of how it's going to play out.
So as a player, you do look at, okay, if we win here, we'd probably play this team. And if we win here, we'd probably play this team.
Yes. We're all human. We all grew up filling out brackets in middle school and high school. But Coach K did a really cool thing. So like during the regular season, any tournament that we play in, whether it's preseason NIT or the Maui Invitational or the Great Alaskan Shootout, he would break down the tournament into little pods of four. He was like, look, guys, this is our little 4-team pod. All right, it's Duke, it's NC Asheville, it's Tennessee, and it's Washington. That's all we have to worry about. All right, don't worry about anything else. And it was a mentality that we developed that, like, we're just going to take care of our first game now, and then whoever we beat, we'll take care of them next. And everything else is out of our control, out of our mind. And so, it allowed us to stay focused on what the most important thing was. And for us, it was like the Greensboro Regional, or it was the Philadelphia Regional. And the next weekend, you have 4 new teams. And then when you get to the Final Four, it's 4 new teams. So you're not doing anything different. You're just playing this little mini tournament of 4 teams, and it helps keep you very focused.
Now, granted, there's a day in between, for Thursday and Saturday. You got Friday, you're going to practice. But do you practice at all for 2 teams, or do you only focus on how to play against the first team that you're going to play?
Well, the coaches are preparing. So the coaches all have assignments, and one team, one coach is assigned a team. But as players, you're just focused on your first round matchup. We played Wofford, and we played Radford, and these schools from these small conferences every year. And it's funny, like the first thing that they tell you is you get an entire information packet on these small schools. We don't know who they are.
Right.
We don't know, Pacific, and
Right.
So first they tell you where they are, they tell you what conference they're in, they tell you who the best players are. So you didn't want to get in a situation where you're talking to the media and they're asking you, what about Montana? You're like, dude, I have no idea about Montana, So you don't want to give the opponent any bulletin board material, which I totally understand and think it's funny now. That was the first thing you got. You got to pack it on who you're playing, who the good players were, what their record was, and so you didn't embarrass yourself in front of the media.
It's funny you say that, because on Sunday nights when the selection show came out, I'm explaining to my 14-year-old son. He goes, hey, so who do the Canes have? Where are they playing? What time? I go, well, they're playing Drake. He goes, who's Drake? And so I had to explain to him, well, listen, every conference produces a champion, no matter how big or small. And that's the beauty of the NCAA tournament is no matter how small your school is, you're allowed to play for the championship. So you get a lot of schools that you've never heard of that are in this tournament. Now, when you were playing in the tournament, a 16 had never beaten a 1 at that point. It's only happened one time since, and we know Virginia, then they made up for it. They won the title the very next year. But at that point, you're a 1 seed. You're playing 16s each year. Was it ever in the back of your head, we don't want to be the first?
Hell yeah. You did not want to be that infamous team that went down to a 16 seed. And like, I'll never forget my sophomore year. We were playing Radford in Winston-Salem. And it was probably like, we're the #1 team in the country. We're rolling. I think we were up by like 8.5. Okay, it was way too close for Coach K's comfort, and so he came in at halftime and he yelled at us like we're playing North Carolina, and lit a fire under us, and we went out, we blew them out. Ended up winning the game by 30 or so. But a funny phenomenon happens with the NCAA tournament when the underdog hangs around in a game. Every fan all of a sudden becomes a fan of the underdog because they all want to be there to say like, oh, I was there for that big upset. And so like what starts out is like, okay, this is a cute, plucky underdog team. Halfway through the first quarter, they may be winning. All of a sudden the cheers are a little louder and there's a pressure. There's a real pressure. And that's why this tournament is so fantastic. You feel the pressure when an underdog team, when a team that's not supposed to win is hanging around, the momentum is real and you feel it. And the team that's a favorite, they oftentimes get super tight and they do things that they're not supposed to, haven't been used to be doing the entire year. But it's such a phenomenon that's unlike any other place in any other sport. And that's why it's such a beautiful time of year.
Now, and especially with a school like Duke, either you're a Duke fan, you went to Duke, so you love Duke. But if you're not one of those two, like when did you realize, wow, everyone else, not only are they not rooting for us, they hate us?
Well, you learn that first week of practice, and it's different now. Duke is cool. I mean, like they're young kids wearing Duke's stuff. When I was going there, no one was wearing Duke stuff but Duke fans. But look, you go to a powerhouse school. Because you like the challenge. And if you don't like the challenge of being the biggest game on the other team's calendar every single year, then like those powerhouse schools aren't really for you. You should go to a smaller school. And so we enjoy it. We enjoyed that pressure. And we didn't look at it as pressure. We looked at it as great opportunity. There's nothing better than getting someone else's best shot and still kicking their butt, which we did. Did you ever feel like you didn't fit when you first got there, or did you always say, yeah, this is for me? Oh yeah, I wanted all the smoke. I wanted everything. I wanted the pressure. I wanted the competition. I wanted, to live my dream. And I knew if I could do what I was capable of doing, I'd go to a higher level. And so I love the competition. I love the pressure that was on our team. It wasn't pressure, it was opportunity. And there was no better feeling than doing it at the highest level and winning as many games as we did.
What was it like winning the regional final? You qualified for the Final Four twice, and then like that first day back on campus.
When you win the regional final, Coach K used to say it's the hardest game of the year because if you go to the Final Four, your season's validated. Whether you win a championship or not,
you're there.
You're there, and so you had an unbelievable year. You're remembered forever as a Final Four team. And so when you get to the regional final, you've won 3 games. You're so close to the Final Four. And I've lost one regional final. We're up 20 in the second half against Kentucky. Lost that game my freshman year. Won the regional final as a sophomore. Won the regional final as a senior, obviously. And so, it's part of the journey. And you're excited. You're going to the Final Four. It's super fun. But you're there. For us, it was our main goal was to win the national championship. And so it was a step in the process. But Final Four week was great. So much pageantry. But again, like when you go to a school like Duke, it wasn't like this is new and everyone's looking around wide-eyed. Yeah, this is why we came here to play these type of games. And it was a business trip. And, went 1-1 in Final Fours. But It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun, and it's something that it just can't be replicated in the NBA. It's just a very different energy and feel, especially when it comes to this month.
Would Coach K enjoy that journey, or did you only see him enjoy it after you won?
No, I think Coach K was super present, and as many games as we won, and in my 4 years, it was 131-15 was our record, which was a record when I graduated. Um, he was very present in our run, but he always talked about the next play. Okay, and so in life, the people who move on to the next opportunity faster than the competition usually wins. And so we'd win a game. Okay, guys, enjoy this. Next play, next game, next quarter, next half, whatever it is, next week, next month, next tournament. And so we were a very present basketball team, and we didn't get ahead of ourselves. We didn't look down the road. We didn't look back. We just wanted to be that as best as we wanted to play as best as we could on that single day, and we did that time and time and time and time and time again. And that became kind of the hallmark of our team. It's just very, very consistent, and a handful every time we stepped on the court.
I've heard the stories about the mind games, essentially, that he would play with his star players. Did he do that with you?
Well, he's a master motivator. And so, my favorite story is 1999. We lost in the national championship game to UConn. And it was the first time Duke had lost players as early entrants to the draft. So Elton Brand goes number 1, William Avery goes number 10, Corey Maggette 14, Trajan Langdon graduates. And so Duke is down. And so all the haters came out and said, Duke is dead. All they have are a bunch of freshmen, Carlos Boozer, Jason Williams, Mike Dunleavy, good players, but they're too young. And 3 holdovers from the old squad: Chris Carrawell, Nate James, Shane Battier. Well, Battier, this guy Battier is going to replace Elton Brand? Like, no friggin' way. And so Coach K, I think he sensed my apprehension. I was excited, but I didn't know if I could replace Elton Brand. I didn't know. Like, I thought I could, but I didn't really know. And so Coach K used to call me, and I was at an internship in Chicago, and he called me and said, "Hey, Shane, did you wake up today and think about being the ACC Player of the Year? All right, and the National Defensive Player of the Year?" And I sort of laughed and go, "Look, well, Coach, click." Coach K hung up on me. He calls back the next day and says, "Hey, Shane, I'm sorry about that, but a serious question. Did you go to work today thinking I'm going to be the National Defensive Player of the Year, get us back to the number 1 seed, get us back to the Final Four, and be the guy?" And I sort of laugh, and I'm like, "Coach, click." He hung up on me again. So he calls back the third day, and I finally wised up, but he said, "Shane, did you wake up today and say to yourself, I'm the National Player of the Year, National Defensive Player of the Year. We're going back to the Final Four, and we're going to be national champions?" I said, "Coach, yes, absolutely. Count on me. I'm your guy." And he said, "Look, we can't be that team unless you're that guy, and you can't be that guy until you believe that you're that guy." And so that's how I want you to think of yourself every single day. Even if you're unsure of yourself, believe that image in your mind. And 2 years later, that scenario played out where I was National Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Final Four, number 1 seed, national champion. And so some call it mind games, some call it inspiration. Coach K was a master at connecting people to a future that they may not see for themselves. And that's great leadership. That's great coaching.
How many days in a row would he have done it, you think?
And as many as it took. I'm not the smartest guy out there, but I picked up on the pattern pretty quick.
Now, like you said, there's a different energy to the tournament Final Four than winning an NBA championship. Is it simply because one is you're a kid and the other one is you're an adult?
It's just different. People say, what do I love more? And it's like having kids. You don't love one more than the other. You love them very differently because they're special in their own way. And so, look, when I was a senior at Duke, I was a senior captain. It was my team. I was in charge of them. I had to lead them. And so there was a certain stroke that comes from, being preseason player of the year and actually doing it. And then, as a member of the Heat, I was, 5th starter and averaged about 6 points a game. But I played big when it mattered the most. And so I'm super proud of being part of that run as well. And so, I love them both. I cherish both. And not one is not better than the other. Sorry, Heat Nation, but they're just different. They're just different.
Shane, what do you got going on right now that everybody can hear about? Let us know.
Oh, we're still rock and rolling with the Battier Take Charge Foundation. Given away over $2.5 million in scholarships. Just had a successful Cabernet with Battier. We're actually having a pickleball tournament coming up.
Do you play? Is that your thing now?
I am learning. I'm not very good.
Everyone loves it.
We're holding a pickleball tournament at the Biltmore on April 1st, coming up to raise money for the Battier Take Charge Foundation. It's the Miami Open, the first pickleball tournament in Miami history. So we hope to make this a super annual event, but it's going to be a great day of pickleball and have some music and some booze and some chalupas and some cocktails. So we're super excited about that. But they're rocking and rolling. If you want to get involved with Take Charge Foundation, go to BattierTakeCharge.org. We're always looking for mentors and people to help some special young people in our area.
Awesome. Great job as always, Shane. Keep up the great work, and always love when you make time to step in on the show. Thank you so much, Shane.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. Later, man.